Google is great, but it can also be dangerous. We spend a lot of time Googling things, which is great to have information at your fingertips, but it can also send you down the rabbit hole. But I Googled for this episode. But let me tell you what I was looking for. I was looking to see what people who are in a relationship with someone who is experiencing ED, what they might be Googling. So if you are a partner with someone who is experiencing ED, you've probably been Googling too. Maybe you are browsing in incognito mode. Maybe you sneak it in on your lunch break or late at night after your partner has been asleep. And you just are trying to find answers to questions that are really hard to bring up out loud. Like, who are you going to talk to about it? But you're not alone. Here's what partners are searching for. My partner has ED. What should I do? My husband has ED and won't touch me. I'm in a new relationship with someone who has ED. How do I deal with this? My husband has ED and I want a divorce. These are real searches. These are not things that I made up. These are real searches. But they tell a story of confusion and loneliness and desperation. They tell a tale of partners who are suffering but don't have anywhere to turn because all the attention in this situation is on the person who is experiencing the ED. And that's part of the problem. Because if you are experiencing erectile dysfunction, there's a whole industry ready to take your money. Pills, supplements, devices, clinics. There is a lot of marketing to people who are experiencing ED. And there is some emotional support available if you are the person experiencing ED. I mean, it might not feel like a lot, it might not feel adequate, but you are acknowledged because you can talk to a doctor, you can talk to a therapist. But if you are the partner of someone experiencing ED, it can feel like there's nothing out there for you because there's no marketing for you. You're expected to be supportive and to not make it worse. But it might feel like your feelings are not acknowledged at all, but you probably are struggling too. And nobody's talking about that. They're not marketing to you. They're not marketing to you. So this is part 4 of our 6-part series on erectile dysfunction. And today we are going to talk about what it's actually like for partners and what you can do. But I do want to say that while this episode is partner specific, if you are a man experiencing ED, listening will also benefit you because understanding what your partner is going through is helpful. Everything's data. Everything's data. So the first question that came up in my Google search was, my partner has ED, what should I do? I think that that's probably the first search for a lot of people. You know, you just found out or you just realize what's happening and you're looking for answers. The advice is usually be supportive, encourage him to see a doctor, don't blame yourself. And that's not wrong, but it doesn't address what you're actually feeling. You're confused. You might even be scared. You might be wondering if this is the end of your sex life, or you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to act. You might even be blaming yourself. And I want to tell you, it's not your fault. This is not a failure for you or your partner. Maybe you think you might need to try harder, be sexier, initiate sex more, lose weight, wear lingerie, fix it somehow. Like if you just did something different, his erection would come back. So maybe you overcompensate. You stress about doing the right thing. You might walk on eggshells because you don't want to make it worse. So now you are increasing your emotional labor. You're taking more care while disappearing yourself. Meanwhile, his feelings might be really big, the shame, the fear, feelings of inadequacy, that there really isn't a lot of space for your feelings. You can't add to his burden because ED is affecting you too. So you just swallow all that confusion and hurt. Maybe you have a best girlfriend that you can talk about it with, but maybe you don't. And if you don't, you're just carrying it alone. But here's what's happening for him. He's terrified. He's probably withdrawing. He might be getting defensive because he doesn't know how to handle what's going on with his body, right? He might even blame you, although it's not your fault, but because it's just the easiest thing than sitting with the shame. And of course, again, you might be scared too, and you're wondering if he still wants you. You're wondering if the relationship can survive this. And now you're feeling lonely, even though you're together every day. So here's what you can actually do. First, stop trying to fix it. This is not a problem to solve. So you can be supportive, but you're not a therapist. You're not his doctor. You're not the sexual savior. You can't be all of those things. That's too much. So secondly, I want you to take care of your own emotional needs. So if you have someone in your circle that you feel you can be vulnerable with, a friend, a family member, talk to someone. See a therapist if you need to do that. Process the heavy feelings someplace else because you need support too. The third thing I want to encourage you to do is then have a direct conversation with your partner. Not necessarily about erectile dysfunction, but just about the dynamic that's changing between you. We haven't been intimate for months and I miss being close to you. I really would like to talk about this so we can figure this out together, right? Fourth, and this one is a biggie, number 4, ask him what he needs from you so that you're not trying to do mental gymnastics and doing what you think he needs. Ask him what he actually needs and tell him what you need from him because both matter. Your feelings matter, his feelings matter. And the hard truth is you can support your partner, but you can't make them deal with this. If they refuse to talk about it and refuse to see a doctor, refuses to engage at all, that's a choice. And then you have to decide what next steps are right for you. There are a lot of choices in that. Hopefully, he'll be open to speaking about what's going on. That's the goal. Next Google search. My husband has ED and won't touch me. This one is a little bit heartbreaking because it's not just about sex, it's also about touch disappearing. And when ED happens, a lot of men don't just stop having sex, they stop everything. No hugging, no kissing, no holding hands, no cuddles, nothing. They withdraw completely because any physical contact might lead to sex, and sex might not work how they thought it was going to work. So they just cut it all off. The partners that are Googling, my husband has ED and won't touch me, are feeling starved for affection. They might feel ugly and unwanted, like their body isn't worthy of attention. I saw a post on Reddit because Reddit has good stuff. And there was a woman and she wrote, sometimes I get out of the shower and take my time putting the towel around me while he's brushing his teeth and he barely glances my way. I feel ugly and unwanted and unloved. I feel like my body is a turnoff for him. That's devastating. But here's what I want you to know. His not touching you is because he's trying to protect himself from the possibility of sex. He's just avoiding. He might also be experiencing some situational depression because ED can do that. And depression can kill desire for connection, physically or emotionally. What he might not understand is by avoiding touch, he's harming the relationship because you're not just missing sex, you're missing him. You're missing the basic human need to be touched by another person. And he probably has no idea how much damage he's doing. He's just self-protecting. So here's what you can do. Be direct. Can I have a hug, please? I just want to touch you. Can I hold your hand? May I kiss your lips? Can you put your arm around me? Be specific about what you need. Don't make it vague. You can say, like, I want you to kiss me goodbye in the morning. I'd love it if you sat next to me on the couch instead of across the room. I'd love to hold you for 5 minutes before we fall asleep. My partner says when we get ready to go to bed, I love to lay on his chest, and sometimes he'll say, want to come over? Like that's the invitation, or sometimes I'll say, can I come over? So you could say that, just be specific about what you need. Now, if your partner is still not interested in touching, there might be a bigger problem because that's not about ED anymore. That's about him choosing isolation over connection, even though it might feel safe to him. Now, the hard truth is you cannot make someone touch you. You can tell them what you need. You can be a safe space for them to be vulnerable. You can even remove the pressure for sex entirely. But if he still won't hold your hand or hug you or kiss you, even when sex isn't on the table, that's a different conversation. And you have to decide what you want to do next about that. But I want you to know that you're not shallow for needing physical affection. Touch is a basic human need. We are wired for touch. Our nervous system needs it. So you're not asking for too much if that's what you need. And if he's not willing, then that's a different conversation. Next Google search question. Well, this is more of a statement. I'm in a new relationship with someone who has ED. This one is a little bit different because you're not dealing with years of history. You're at the very beginning trying to find out how to navigate this and whether it's sustainable. Maybe if you are fortunate, the other person told you up front about what's going on, or maybe you found out when you tried to have sex. But either way, you're wondering, like, do I stay? Can I handle this? Is this what I'm signing up for? You might be weighing the relationship against what you know about his body, and that might feel shallow, but it's not. You're allowed to consider sexual compatibility when you're choosing a partner. I'm going to say that again. You are allowed to consider sexual compatibility when you are choosing a partner. You're allowed to want a sex life. You're allowed to ask yourself if you can be happy in a relationship where penetration may or may not be part of the equation. And at the same time, you might really like this person and the connection might be great and the chemistry might be there. And you're wondering, is it worth giving up because of this one thing? All of those experiences are valid. So here's what you can do. Ask questions. How long has this been happening? What kind of things has he tried? Is he seeing a doctor? Is he open to medical intervention? And how does he feel about what's going on? His answers will tell you a lot. If he's proactive and communicative and willing to work on it, that's a good sign. If he's defensive, secretive, or refuses to talk about it, probably a red flag. You need to be honest with yourself about your own needs. How important is penetrative sex to you? Can you be satisfied with other kinds of sex? Are you open to exploring what's possible? Set the expectations early. Talk about what sex might look like for you as a couple, not in a pressure way, but realistically. Like, I want to understand what's possible so we can figure out if we're compatible. Hard truth. You're not obligated to stay in a relationship just because you like someone. Sexual compatibility matters. It weighs heavily for some and not as much for others. You know where you are at with that. But if you know that you are not going to be satisfied without penetration, and if you suspect that the ED might not improve, that's important data. It doesn't make you a bad person if this situation doesn't work out for you. It just means that you're honest with yourself about what you need. But also consider, sex is more than penetration. And if he's open, communicative, and willing to explore, maybe you might discover a sex life that's more satisfying than you imagined it could be. Some of the best sex doesn't always involve a hard cock at all. But then the question is, are you willing to go there? And is he willing to go there? Next Google search. My husband has ED and I want a divorce. I feel like this search comes after it feels like the possibilities have been exhausted. Maybe you've tried being supportive, you've tried giving space, you've tried having conversation, you've tried to take sex off the table. Maybe you've tried suggestions from doctors, therapists, medication, and maybe it just doesn't seem to be working. And now you're wondering if you can spend the rest of your life like this. What's actually happening is you're at a breaking point. You're not just missing sex, you're missing intimacy and connection and feeling wanted and feeling loved. And maybe you're feeling lonely. Maybe you're exhausted. Part of you might feel guilty for considering divorce over, air quotes, just sex. But it's not just sex, it's everything that comes with that. It's touch and closeness and feeling desired and feeling seen and like you matter, right? Maybe you might be angry about all that. Maybe you're pissed off because he won't address it, angry that the relationship feels like it's deteriorating. Maybe you're angry because you've been doing all the emotional labor. But here's what you need to do. First, you need to get clear on what's driving your feeling. Is it the lack of sex? Is it the lack of touch? Is it the communication or lack of communication? Are you feeling blamed about this experience? Are you lonely? Do you feel invisible? Because some of those things can be fixed. And some of them are choices that maybe you or your partner are making. Some of it has nothing to do with ED at all. The second thing is you need to give a clear timeline. Like, I need us to see a couples therapist in the next month, or I really think that you need to see a doctor in the next month, or because this is getting hard. A lot of men like clear structure. So you giving a time frame, like, in the next 2 months, like, I'd like for us to go to therapy. This is not an ultimatum. This is just you being honest, you telling him what you need to make the marriage sustainable. Third, I really want to encourage you to see a therapist or a counselor before making a final decision, because sometimes a third party can help us see things that we can't see on our own. That's the beauty of having someone else look at something. The hard truth, though, is divorce is a legitimate option. If that's where you're at, you're not shallow, you're not abandoning him, you're not a bad person for wanting a partner who will touch you and talk to you and work on problems with you. If this has been going on for years and your partner has chosen not to address it, that's a choice. That's a choice. And you get to make a choice about whether you want to continue or not. But also ask yourself, this is imperative. Is this about ED, or is erectile dysfunction just the thing that exposed bigger problems in the relationship? Sit with it, really sit in it, let it soak up, because it's usually not the deal breaker. It's usually just in addition to. Because if communication is the problem, then that's not about ED. You guys weren't talking about other stuff either. If you are feeling blamed about what's going on, odds are you probably get blamed for other things too. You know, Erectile dysfunction, like so many other things, often reveal dynamics that are already in play. And you deserve to be in a relationship where you feel wanted, where you feel seen, where your partner works on problems with you instead of hiding. You deserve that. So if he isn't doing that, if he refuses to do that, ED or no ED, you're allowed to decide what you want for yourself in the future. Now, before we wrap up, there is another partner we need to talk about. This is not a partner who's sad or confused or trying to be supportive. This is the partner who's just done. I did not sign up for someone who can't get it up. This isn't what I agreed to. I'm not spending my life dealing with this. Those are real things people said on Reddit, by the way. If that's you, I am not going to tell you that you're wrong for feeling the way you feel. Your feelings are your feelings. And this is a no shame podcast, so we are not going to drag you for filth for wanting what you want or liking the kind of sex you like. But what I will say is this: be honest about what you're actually feeling. If you're not willing to work through it, say that. Don't pretend to be supportive while seething with resentment, Don't stay and punish him for something he can't control. That's just cruel. Understand that bodies change, all bodies. His body, your body, everybody. And if you leave specifically for ED, we're not talking about underlying things, but if your reason for leaving is specifically ED, and let's say your next partner develops a health condition that also affects sex, then what? And this is not me defending staying. This is just a reality check about what long-term relationships involve. Life happens, bodies happen, sickness happens, but you're allowed to leave. I'm not making an argument. I'm just offering perspective. You are allowed to go if that's what you want to do. If you know you can't be happy under the circumstances and you're not interested in exploring any more options, make it clean. Don't drag it out. And don't be cruel on the way out. Life is hard enough. You can leave without being destructive. Okay? Here's what I want you to understand as a partner. ED brings up really big emotions on both sides: shame, fear, inadequacy. It can be really consuming. I'm not using that as an excuse for withdrawal or blame, but it does explain why certain things happen. And again, you can't fix this for someone. You can't make it different, but you can be supportive, but you can't be the solution. There has to be a willingness for the person who's experiencing ED to address it. But your feelings matter. You are not selfish for having needs. You are not shallow for wanting to be touched. If you are someone who's experiencing ED, this is what I want you to know about your partner. Your partner is suffering too. They might feel rejected or confused or lonely. They're carrying this with you, even if you're not talking about it. Pulling away destroys relationships faster than ED ever could. And your partner's needs don't disappear because you are struggling. And so you need to work on ways to provide those things to each other through this season. If you're both willing, if you're both willing. So that's what partners are Googling. Next week, we are getting into part 5 of the series, and we're going to be talking about sex beyond direction. It's going to be a little bit explicit. I want to talk about how to have delicious sex no matter what, okay? Because if you're staying in this relationship, whether you're the person with ED or the partner, you need to know what's possible. And there's a lot of possibility, way more than you realize. So I'll see you back here next week. Ciao.